caught my neighbor spraying poison on my garden, realized that my dog had been licking it, and he eventually passed on, so I covered their yard in horse manure, and now they are reporting us without any proof. Yeah, this one's gonna be long. If you've ever had a neighbor from hell, if you're an animal lover, maybe don't read this on an empty stomach. I'm still shaking just typing this out. This started 5 months ago. We moved into a small house on a quiet street, kind of a dream situation for me and my wife. I work from home doing freelance design, and she's a nurse who works 12s, so peace and quiet is top priority for us. We don't have kids. Our dog, Moose, was our child. He was a 6-year-old Bernese mountain dog, 110 pounds of pure loyalty. If you know Berners, you know they're big, goofy babies. Moose was everything to us. Our next-door neighbors are this older couple, probably late 60s, no kids around, but they've got that weird, uptight vibe, like HOA energy even though there isn't one. Day one they watched us move in from their window. Not even subtle, just full-on lurking. First red flag was week 2. I caught the husband, I'll call him Kurt, pacing the property line holding a tape measure. I asked what he was doing and he goes, "Just checking boundary lines. Don't want anything on our side." I laughed it off at first. Whatever, maybe he's just territorial. Next week my wife came home to find one of Moose's toys, one of those big rope tugs, hanging from our tree with a note attached. It said, "Please keep your dog's belongings inside your property line. This is not a kennel." We were stunned. But we didn't want beef, so we just ignored it and kept Moose away from the fence until he started getting sick. Around week 6, Moose stopped eating as much. Then he started puking. Vet thought it might be stress or something he ate. I mean, dogs eat grass and chew on stuff all the time, right? They did blood work, checked for everything, couldn't find the cause. We switched his food, stopped giving him treats, even started walking him on leash in our own backyard. But nothing worked. This went on for weeks. Every test came back inconclusive. Meanwhile, Moose was clearly suffering, and we were dying inside watching it happen. Then I caught Kurt in the act. It was a Tuesday morning. Wife had left early for a shift. I was up around 6 a.m. making coffee, and I see something move outside through the kitchen window. I pull back the curtain, and there he is. Curtin, my neighbor, crouched by our side fence, with a spray bottle, spraying our effing grass. It was still kinda dark out so I couldn't see the label, but he was clearly spraying along the fence line where Moose always liked to sniff. I ran out in my boxers yelling, "Hey!" and this dude bolts back to his house like a cartoon villain. I immediately checked the area he sprayed. It reeked, like chemical garden cleaner mixed with something sour. Moose ran up sniffing it and I had to drag him away. I tried to confront Kurt later that day, but he straight up refused to come to the door. His wife peeked through the blinds and ignored the doorbell. I called animal control. They said unless I had a sample or camera footage, there was nothing they could do. I felt like I was going insane. Fast forward 2 more vet visits, thousands in bills, and Moose freaking died in our arms. I'm not exaggerating. The night before, he was lethargic, wouldn't move, and by the morning he was gasping. We rushed him to emergency, but it was too late. They said his organs had shut down. Vets still couldn't identify a specific toxin but told us, off the record, that it was absolutely poisoning, said it matched exposure to certain industrial herbicides that aren't sold commercially anymore, stuff that can cause organ failure in animals. I was gutted. My wife cried for 3 days straight. I couldn't even function. Our house felt haunted. Like everywhere I looked, I saw Moose, his toys, his bowls, his leash, and Kurt just kept mowing his lawn like nothing happened. At this point I snapped. I bought a camera system, installed it in the yard, put up a massive camera monitoring 24/7 sign on the fence. I also sent a letter to Kurt and his wife, certified mail, stating that I'd witnessed him spraying the yard and we were considering legal action. Their response? They filed a noise complaint about our wind chimes. I'm not even joking. They literally tried to get us fined for wind chimes because I said we were watching them. That's when I said screw it. If I wasn't going to get justice through the system, I'd get it another way. Cue the horse manure. I've got a cousin who owns horses out in the country. I called him up, explained the situation, and he was like, say less. He drives a trailer down the next weekend with 2 massive bins of horse crap, like industrial quantities. I put on gloves, a mask, and over the course of a very therapeutic Sunday, I dumped the entire load along their side of the fence. Not just dumped, I spread it, real careful like, with a rake, made sure it got into every little crevice. Their roses, caked, the decorative rocks by their fountain, stuffed, their pristine white stone path, lined with steaming earthy justice. Then I watered it in. The smell was unreal. My wife said it made her gag from inside the house. I told her to go out for brunch, and I'd take care of it. By the time she got back, the whole side of their yard looked like a barn exploded. They called the cops, of course, but guess what? No proof. Just two angry old people yelling about biohazards and domestic terrorism. I told the officer I was fertilizing my side of the fence and must have spilled some. He gave me a warning and left. Didn't even step into their yard. Now they're trying to report us to the city for harassment. They say we're stalking them, watching them, that we're trying to kill their garden. Meanwhile, my cameras are up, my sign is up. I got logs, receipts, even a time-stamped screenshot of Kurt spraying the fence if it ever comes to it. No one's been back to spray since Moose passed, and I swear the bastard hasn't even come outside in days. His garden's dying, roses wilted, birds stopped coming. Guess horse manure isn't as aesthetic as Miracle-Gro. So yeah, I turned their beautiful Martha Stewart garden into a steaming pile of barnyard justice. I'm not gonna lie. I felt amazing for about 48 hours. I even slept better. But then, the real game started. About 2 days after the Great Manure incident, I got a knock at the door. It was code enforcement. Some smug guy with a clipboard talking about multiple complaints regarding unsanitary lawn practices. I almost laughed in his face. He asked to inspect the area in question, and I told him, sure, right this way. I'd already cleaned it up, mostly. Raked and shoveled the worst of it. Laid down mulch, and even planted some stupid ornamental grass to make it look intentional. I told him I was testing out organic fertilizer. He sniffed once, looked visibly uncomfortable, and left 5 minutes later with nothing but a puzzled look and a warning to keep it tidy. I was so smug I could have floated. Then came the letter war. Kurt and Deb, yeah, I'm naming them now, I don't care anymore, started leaving letters in our mailbox. Anonymous, no signature. Written in the wildest Sharpie chicken scratch, like they were trying to avoid handwriting analysis. First one said, "We are watching you too." Second one said, "This is your final warning." The third was just a Bible verse about vengeance and judgment, like they were trying to scare us into backing off. I gave them one back, slipped under their door. God's watching, and so are my cameras. Then I started noticing things. Our trash can knocked over in the mornings. My wife's car windshield wipers flipped up. Once I found a plastic fork jammed into our tire. Not enough to pop it, but enough to be annoying. I checked the footage. Nothing. Either they were staying off camera or they'd gotten smarter. Too bad I got smarter too. See, I still had the footage of Kurt spraying the fence, and even though it didn't catch the label, I took samples of the grass, the same spots where Moose always sniffed, sent them to a buddy of mine from college who works at an agricultural lab. 2 weeks later I got a report back. Traces of paraquat. Look that up if you don't know what it is. Super deadly herbicide. Banned in a ton of countries. Not even supposed to be available to civilians. And yes, it causes slow organ failure in mammals. I took that straight to a lawyer. Now this part is important. We weren't trying to go nuclear right away. I just wanted to scare them. Maybe force an apology or at least some kind of acknowledgement. But when the lawyer sent a formal notice of intent to sue, not even the real lawsuit, just a heads up, they lost their minds. Next thing I know, Animal Control shows up at my door with a report that we're keeping aggressive dogs. Let me repeat that. Aggressive dogs. We don't have any more dogs. Moose was our only one. They literally filed a fake complaint about a dog that doesn't exist anymore. I showed the officer a framed picture of Moose and said, "He's dead. They killed him." Officer looked like he wanted to melt into the porch. Kurt and Deb kept going though. A week later, another complaint, this time to the city, claiming we were harassing senior citizens. Then they tried saying we'd thrown feces over the fence onto their porch, as if I'm out here lobbing turds like it's trench warfare. I had cameras, footage, logs, everything. Nothing stuck. They were scrambling, and I could see it in their eyes. Every time we passed them, which we tried to avoid, Kurt looked like he wanted to crawl inside himself. Deb started wearing giant sunglasses and would cross the street if we were outside. I started whistling the Law and Order theme every time I saw them in their yard. But it gets better. One morning, I'm on my front porch drinking coffee, and I see a for sale sign go up in their yard. No open house, no flyers, just a desperate, crooked little sign from one of those discount real estate companies. I checked online. They listed it $40,000 under market value. These psychos were trying to run. Here's the kicker though. A friend of mine from the neighborhood went to one of their private showings, pretending to be interested. He told me the second he brought up the weird smell in the yard and mentioned the lab report, he made it sound like neighborhood gossip. Deb started crying, not like allergy tears, like full-on panic attack mode. She had to leave the room. Kurt kicked my buddy out 10 minutes later. They took the listing down 3 days later. At this point, my wife started feeling bad. Not for them, but for the circus our house had become. She wanted to back off, let the legal process do its thing. I agreed, mostly, but I still wanted one last move. Something clean, psychological. So I made a sign, real big, 3 feet wide, bright red letters, right by the fence line. It said, "Warning, area tested positive for toxic chemicals. Pets may be at risk." Totally true. Totally legal. No names, no accusations. Just a nice public health warning for our yard. They called the city again. Officer came, read the sign, and literally said, "Well, if it's true, you're allowed to post it." That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, silence. No more notes. No more complaints. They haven't even come out to mow. Their yard looks like it gave up. Dead flowers, faded paint, grass up to their knees. I still miss Moose every single day. I keep his leash in my office, and I catch myself looking for him when I wake up. That dog was my best friend. He didn't deserve what happened. But if there's one silver lining here, it's that Kurt and Deb got a taste of exactly what they tried to dish out. And yeah, I covered their whole damn yard in horse crap. No regrets. Update 1. Alright y'all, figured I'd drop a quick update since things have somehow managed to get even weirder over here. If you're just jumping in my original post, or none of this will make sense. Short version, neighbor poisoned my dog. I retaliated with horse crap, and now we're basically in a cold war. So, 2 weeks after the Great Horse Dump and the toxic chemical warning sign went up, I thought maybe things would quiet down. Nope. These people are unraveling like a dollar store sweater. First major update, Kurt and Deb are trying to sell their house. That for sale sign I saw pop up, not a bluff, it's real. They listed the place with some cut-rate agency that does those quick cash-buy deals. The price is way under market, like I'm talking $50,000 below what other houses on the street sold for this year. It's giving panic sell energy. So obviously I couldn't just sit back and watch. I had a buddy, let's call him Joe, pretend to be an interested buyer. Joe's a pro at playing clueless, and he books a private showing through their agent. He walks through the house, compliments the kitchen, the layout, etc., then casually brings up how the yard smells a little weird and asks if the soil's been tested. Deb freaking breaks. Like apparently she literally starts tearing up on the spot, says something about the neighbors and how this whole thing has gotten out of hand. Kurt steps in and cuts the tour short, tells Joe, the property isn't a good fit. They escorted him out like he was a health inspector. I almost choked laughing when Joe texted me the story. A few days later, listing disappears from the real estate website, like wiped clean. I don't know if someone told them the lawsuit was going to follow them, or if they realized we weren't going to roll over and let them run away, but either way, they're stuck. Next wild moment, the camera caught Kurt in our yard. Yup, he came into our yard. Not over the fence, not from the side. He came in through the effing gate. It was around 2:40 a.m. I checked the timestamp 3 times. He didn't spray anything this time. No tools, no bottles, just kind of wandered. He walked to the patch of grass Moose used to lay in, stood there for about 10 seconds, then walked right back out. I swear to God it was like a ghost visit or some freaky guilt ritual. The footage is grainy, but clear enough to identify him. I showed it to my lawyer the next day. He said that might be considered trespassing depending on how far we want to push this. And trust me, I'm tempted. Also, I replaced the camera with a newer one the next day. Motion-activated floodlight, just in case he decides to pull some exorcist-level yard visit again. Final cherry on top, Animal Rights Org messaged me. After Moose passed and I made the Facebook post, I didn't go viral or anything, just local dog groups. Someone forwarded the story to a small animal rights nonprofit that advocates for toxic-free neighborhood ordinances. They want to feature our story in a local campaign. Not sure if I want to be the poster boy for man versus old psycho couple, but they're also offering to help fund legal fees. So yeah, Kurt and Deb, still hiding inside, house unsold, garden wrecked, legal case building steam. Moose may be gone, but I swear on his name I'm gonna see this through. If you see a house go up for sale in your neighborhood way under market, and the owners look like they sleep with one eye open, maybe ask what kind of fertilizer they've been using. You might just be living next to the next Kurt and Deb. Update 2. Alright Reddit, back again. If you've been following along, you already know the insanity that's gone down. But if you're new here, Neighbor poisoned my dog. I retaliated with a tactical dump of horse manure. They tried to flee, failed miserably, and now we're knee-deep in a revenge legal battle straight out of Netflix. So first things first, the civil lawsuit is now officially filed. Not just a letter of intent, not just threatening to sue, it's real now. Court dates, case numbers, the whole nine. My lawyer says we have a strong claim for wrongful death of a pet and property tampering, thanks to the combo of lab results, vet records, surveillance footage, and the certified letter we sent them weeks before Moose died. They haven't responded legally yet, but we know they got served because we heard Deb screaming. No exaggeration. 2 nights after the process server left the packet, we hear this blood-curdling "why" from their backyard like someone told her the Pope canceled Christmas. Then a door slam, then silence. Haven't seen them out front since. But that's not even the best part. Remember that for sale sign? Turns out their buyer pulled out. Apparently, after my buddy Joe spooked them with some well-placed questions at the house tour, the buyers got nosy, looked up the property address online and found my Facebook post about Moose. Then they looked us up, found the vet's name, found the toxic soil sign still up by the fence. Their real estate agent left a review on one of those shady house listing sites that said, "Ongoing civil dispute with neighbors regarding animal poisoning. Buyer beware." I damn near printed that review and framed it. They tried to relist 2 days later through a different agency, but get this, the new agent showed up, took one look at the yard, and walked off the job. My friend who lives across the street caught the whole thing. Apparently the agent said something like, "I'm not touching this lawsuit bait," and bounced. Their lawn is dead now. Not like neglected dead, I mean actual rot. Like the manure and bleach combo they probably tried to use backfired. Their once pristine garden beds are full of moldy mulch and blackened stems. The bird bath is full of green slime. Even the raccoons have stopped showing up. Meanwhile, my yard's doing great. No joke. I hired a landscaper with the money I saved from not having to go to court over stupid fake noise complaints. We've got fresh sod, flower beds, a lemon tree. People walk by and compliment it. I just smile and go, organic. And yes, Moose's old spot has been replanted. It's a small enclosed patch now with a little wooden sign that says, "Moose's Rest." My wife cried when I showed her. I buried one of his toys under it. It's peaceful again. But that's not to say I'm done. Because this week, I got a mysterious letter in the mail. No return address. Just typed text. No signature. It said, "Some things are better left buried. You're making it worse for yourself. We're not the only ones watching." What the actual hell? Like, who even? If that's them, then they've moved into some next-level unhinged behavior. But part of me wonders if they've roped someone else in. Maybe some weird family friend or neighbor trying to defend their honor? Either way, I've already handed it off to my lawyer, who's keeping track of every incident. So now I'm upping my game. I just installed 4 new motion lights, bought a Ring floodlight cam, and set up IFTTT alerts that ping me anytime someone comes near our fence after dark. I'm done playing. This is my home. They took Moose from me, and now they want to scare us into backing off? Not happening. Final update. It's been 2 months since I posted update 2, and I honestly wasn't going to say anything until after court, but too much has happened. I owe it to Moose, and to all of you who've been blowing this thread up, to close the loop. Court happened. We didn't settle. Kurt and Deb thought we'd blink. They tried dragging it out with delay tactics, missing paperwork, medical excuses, even tried claiming Kurt had memory loss and couldn't recall events. But my lawyer wasn't having it. He showed up with a binder thicker than a Bible and rolled in like he was prosecuting war crimes. The judge, not amused by their nonsense, Once we laid out the timeline, the vet reports, the footage, the lab tests, the letters, the trespassing video, and the animal control records, the judge looked straight at Kurt and asked, "Did you spray your neighbor's yard with chemicals you didn't disclose?" And this crusty fossil of a man just sat there and said nothing. Not no, not yes, just stared at the floor. His silence was everything we needed. The court awarded us damages. Not a ton, but enough. Covered the vet bills, some emotional distress, and a few grand extra for the surveillance equipment and legal fees. They have 30 days to pay. If they don't, my lawyer already filed a lien on their property, which means they can't sell the house until it's paid. Which brings me to the next twist. Their house is officially under contract, but now it's frozen. They listed it again, under a third real estate agent. The ad didn't mention the lawsuit, obviously, but the buyer? A young couple with 2 golden retrievers. You think they didn't Google the address? They reached out to me, found my name through the court documents, messaged me through Facebook and said, "Is it true what happened here?" I told them the full story, sent them the vet statement and the talk screen from the grass. I didn't even editorialize it, just facts. They pulled out of escrow the next day. Another deal tanked. That's what, 3 now? Kurt and Deb are stuck. Yard looks like a grave. Front porch light's been off for weeks. Mail piling up in their box. Deb was spotted at the grocery store wearing sunglasses and a hoodie like she's being hunted. No one on the block talks to them anymore. Not even the nosy old couple across the street who used to gossip with her on trash day. They've turned into ghosts. And honestly, good. Because here's the real update. We got a new puppy. Her name's Junebug. She's a rescue. Part Bernese, part lab. Little furball of chaos. We weren't planning to adopt again so soon, but a local shelter hit us up after seeing the story shared by the animal rights group I mentioned before. One look at her picture and we knew she sleeps in Moose's old bed, plays in the exact same backyard, and she's safe now, because I made sure of it. I laid new turf, got a full soil test done, installed a coded lock on our gate and a full perimeter of motion sensors. Our yard's got more security than half the banks in town. Kurt could levitate over the fence and I'd still catch him in 4K. And last week I did one final thing. I bought a giant yard sign, had it custom made, black background, bold white letters. It says, "This yard was once poisoned. The dog died. The owner fought back." Underneath that, a picture of Moose, and next to it, Junebug sitting in the grass, safe and alive. I put the sign up facing their window. They closed the blinds. They haven't opened them since. This is the end of my updates. Unless Kurt tries some resurrection level BS, I'm done. Moose got justice. Junebug's got a safe home. And I've got peace again. So yeah, if you're reading this and you've got neighbors like Kurt and Deb, just shot them and bury the bodies at C. Dexter style.